All right. Now let's get into it. Today, as the very first guest on the show, we have Ross Pomerantz, aka you know him better as Corporate Bro. Ross, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, I know. I've been eager to do this. When I thought about starting a podcast, I was like, who can be a really interesting first guest? And for me, you're just an interesting dude that I know very little about. We've talked a bunch, we've talked a lot. And I remember when we jumped on, I forget how we got in touch, but obviously I followed your videos on YouTube. And by the way, for anyone who's listening, if you don't already follow Ross, aka Corporate Bro, on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, you've been living under a rock if you're working in sales and you don't know what any of this is. So check it out.
Do it.
I started following you. I want to say, I don't know, probably 5 years ago or something like that. I remember someone showed me one of your videos in the office one day at I think the first VP sales role I was in. And I couldn't believe that I hadn't seen that before. And then I went home and I think I watched every single one of them. And so I became a fan. And then a few years later, somehow we started talking. I think I probably reached out to you about something, and we got on a phone call. And that's really what inspired me to want to interview you, because on that call, I remember getting off the call and everyone knew I was going to talk to you. I was being a little giddy about it. I was excited. And I get off the call and everyone in the office is like, how was it? What's he like? What's Corporate Bro like? And I'm I was very surprised because you're not really the character in the show, right? I was expecting to kind of get on the phone with some douchebag, and I was
totally
pleasantly surprised that you're super smart, and you have a lot of thought and strategy that goes into everything that you do. And so I think we chatted a little bit about it, but I'm really interested to dive into it and understand, a little bit of the come up of your sales career, how you got into content, and really how you develop the character, and how much of that character is Ross versus how much is, made up of some other people that you maybe worked with or whatnot. But why don't we just, to kick it off, just tell us a little bit about where you're from, how you came up, and what was the first thing that you ever sold?
Yeah. I guess originally I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. So peace up, A-town down. Moved to the Bay Area, 2001. Whole fam moved out here for my mom's job. I think most people don't intend to get into sales, right? They're not
I don't think
a little kid
does.
Damn, I just cannot wait to go slang. So I kind of stumbled into it. Admittedly, I was a baseball player, played a couple years of minor league ball, the lowest possible level, independent minor league baseball. I was a pitcher, and got done with that after about 2 seasons. I played 2 seasons. Was kind of I could toil around in the minor leagues, make $1,000 a month. And I was this isn't really, honestly, very intellectually stimulating. So I did what anybody who has no idea what they want to do. And I just started finding companies that I was interested in. And lo and behold, people are like, oh, you're an athlete and you have no hard skills. So sales, perfect. Let's go into sales. I applied to a bunch of tech companies in the Bay Area, and including Salesforce and Oracle. Salesforce was nah, sorry, you don't have any. It was
what happened there? Did you get the interview at least with Salesforce?
Oh yeah, I got all the way to the final round, which was a panel interview of 3 managers in front of me, and I had to pitch one of their clouds. And I thought I did pretty well, and they said I did well, but their thing was you're not coming out of a sales job. And I was like, how do I get into an entry-level job with having a job before? It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was all good, great experience. Rejection, got it in early, set me up for sales. Ended up at Oracle, started selling there. Was there for about a year. The guy who hired me was going to leave. He was my manager. He was going to leave for a director role at another company. He was like, yo, you should come with me, and I'll get you promoted, and I'll get you a bunch more money. And, me being, 23, 24 maybe. I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to do that. The grass is always greener, isn't it? It wasn't. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. It was a
What was that company that you went to?
It was called SOASTA, 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 as I like to call it.
So you must have liked this. You must have liked this manager to follow him.
Yeah, great dude. Still one of my professional mentors.
Is he anything like Pfister or no?
No, nothing like Pfister.
Okay, so
no,
Pfister's
I've been
not
so
this guy.
lucky, man. My managers have always been really good. But I obviously have been around plenty that aren't.
Yeah.
So there are, as you mentioned, there are a lot of pieces of my sales career that are built into the story or the narrative. Like Raj was my sales engineer at Oracle. So people are like, "You're so racist, dude. You Raj of all the names." I was like, that literally was my SE's name. Like, this is like, I'm paying homage to like my boy from back in the day. So
that's his real name, right?
His real name.
Yeah.
Well, the guy who plays Raj now is my business school roommate, whose name is Rohan. But he loves.
So he's not actually playing himself. Got it.
No, he's not playing himself.
The character is based on.
The character is based on like my actual SE back in the day named Raj.
Got it. Cool. So minor league ball. What you were a pitcher, right?
Mm-hmm. I was left-handed pitcher.
It's interesting. Actually, the VP of marketing that I just worked with did minor league ball for like 2 years, and he said, like, he showed us, he's super skinny guy. Showed us pictures of when he was in, and he was ripped up. He said that they had so much pressure on him to gain a lot of weight.
That was me too. Same thing. I was undersized. Yeah, I had to eat my normal like diet plus an additional Chipotle burrito every day, which sounds fun. But when you are not hungry, trying to eat a Chipotle burrito on top of everything else, I was trying to eat like 7,000 calories a day.
What's with that? It's a non-contact sport. Why do they want you to be like thick? What's the point?
I mean, it's just more power behind the ball. As a pitcher, I was already undersized. So I was like, $170. I was in college. I was like $160, $155. And most pitchers are big. I was the smallest pitcher on the team by far. Everybody's like, you look in the big leagues now, everybody's 6'4", throwing 98 miles an hour. I was, I'm 5'11", and I was touching 89.
How old are you now?
I'm 31.
31. So has it gotten easier to put on the weight?
Yeah. No, I'm no problem sitting at 180 now.
Yeah.
That's why I got a Peloton, man. I'm just shredding on that Peloton, trying to keep it off.
I popped over 200 for the first time during quarantine.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a scary moment when then you take your sandals off. You're like, nope, still 200. And you take your boxers off. You strip everything down. Like, maybe I need a haircut. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
You're playing with like 0.1, 0.2. You're like, what can I get out here?
Yeah.
I ate a lot today, so
I'm back down to 194, so I feel all right. But I should be like 170. So
that's kind of where I've just like
fucking Corona.
Yeah, you can't even go outside. I feel like just burning. By existing, I'm only burning 300 calories a day.
I know.
So I just might as well not eat.
It's awful, man. It's awful. All right, so you get this first job at Oracle. You're there for how long?
About a little over a year.
And so that was the really the foundation of your sales career. Did you do any selling prior to that or no?
Yeah, so I did. So right out of school, so I got hurt my senior year of college. I was talking to a bunch of teams that were like, "We're going to draft you. We're going to take you," and then like. This was my junior year, and then I got hurt my senior year. I tore my lat, played through it, was just like, I kind of knew it was the end. Like all the teams stopped talking to me. My velocity was going down. And so I went to real estate, shockingly, and not like flipping homes or anything. I ended up working at a luxury apartment building that had just opened up in Oakland, California, right around Occupy Oakland. So that was a real treat to be down there. But I was really lucky in that there were only 2 sales guys there. The other guy got like canned right in my first week. So I got to sell this whole like luxury apartment building, which was great. That was like obviously nothing like tech sales. It was all in-person tours and stuff like that.
That's good experience though, right?
Totally. It was great. But the hours were awful.
Was it like full cycle? You were closing deals? What was it for rentals?
Yep. Yeah. Just slanging rentals. We got to meet a bunch of like former Warriors and A's. It was like a lot of athletes would come through. It just was like super close to, Oracle Arena and, Oakland Coliseum and so forth. So it was cool. It was fun, but my days off were Tuesday, Wednesday, and there's not a lot you can do on a Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Your friends aren't around. It was a pretty dark time. So that's where I actually started training in baseball again. I was missing it too much. So I started training in the parking deck below underground, like throwing into a net. And there were some open tryouts for a minor league team. And I was the one guy they signed.
And so then you got back into that.
Got into that for 2 years and then went to Oracle after that.
Got it. All right. So you're at Oracle. I mean, everyone knows Oracle, right? Massive company. I assume this wasn't that long ago. It was a massive company at the time, right?
2013, I believe. Yeah. I mean, 100,000 people like across the world. I mean, fucking super huge. It's kind of the godfather of inside sales back in the day. It was like where the classic churn and burn grind, like people making a bunch of money. I of course got there after people were not making a bunch of money, and it was just like too many reps, too many people, too much conflict of interest, even within the organization. Like you're selling against other reps at Oracle in your territory, and only one person can, like, imagine you're a CEO. You don't want to deal with 15 different gnats from Oracle.
They overscale, right? They overscale at a certain point. They just hire.
Like most companies.
Yeah, I mean, it's what happens at that stage of growth. That's why I hate being in a company like anywhere near that stage of growth. To me, all the fun stuff is kind of over at that point. What was the hiring like? Did you get brought in a like a big group, like a hiring class?
So I didn't, because they have this program they called the Class of, which was literally just like funneling students in from like Cal Poly and UCSB and stuff like that. But no, because I had like life experience, I don't know, I was a little bit older. Everyone on my team was brought in individually as like, we had a little bit more autonomy, and like, we got to do more in terms of what it was like to be, we were BDR or BDCs is what we were called. We were not these like ADR, this like weird kind of like, we actually had legit territories and like got to work with the legit Oracle field reps and so forth. Whereas all the kids fresh out of college, they expected 70% turnover for them.
So it was an SDR role, right?
This was, yeah, exactly. Just pure business development.
And so they have field reps that you're setting up meetings for people that are going to go out in person?
Yeah. So it's both. So that's like the thing. It's like you have an inside rep and an outside rep. You have your like AE and field rep. And if it goes over a certain dollar value, it gets kicked to the field rep. And so you're kind of like trying to make them both happy, and sometimes if the field rep's cool, they'll let the inside rep in on like a piece of the deal. And it's just like, there's so much internal politicking, which, that's just fact of life in all things.
Do they still do the field sales? Like, is that model still happening today?
As far as I know, yeah. I mean, I know they just axed a bunch of people. Bless up.
Or I mean, even pre-COVID, like field sales. I mean, maybe are you talking super enterprise? Is that why
super enterprise? Yeah, we're covering like AT&T, Verizon, like telecoms.
Okay,
right.
So that's why
you're dealing with the CEOs. Oh yeah, like these people. I mean, these reps are like 60 years old. They're like the old school. They are the OGs.
All right.
Got it. Smoking cigars.
Yeah. These guys were selling like on-premise software in their early career. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I got it. So how long did you do that role for before, did you get promoted at Oracle or?
Yeah. So I was basically like, I was about to move to the cloud team right when cloud was getting hot. And I had basically accepted kind of the promo to go there. But then, like I said, my director left. He was like, yo, I'll get you more money. Smaller company,
right.
Like come back and work for me again.
And grass wasn't greener.
It wasn't. And I was doing like an 1.5-hour commute, and I had to be in the office at 7 a.m. So I was like in the dark every morning, just like slowly veering off the road. I was like, am I tired or just depressed? And so,
or both.
Yeah. I mean, it was both.
Yeah.
So
I've been there. I've
yeah.
definitely been there. So talk to me about your education. Like, you're a super smart guy. Were you always really smart? Did you get good grades in high school? What kind of kid were you?
No, I was. So, like every affluent kid, I wanted to be a rapper one day. No,
really?
Well, I spit some bars, but no, I wanted to, like, I was convinced I was gonna be a baseball player. So I went to like a very elite private high school in Marin. All the rich kids went there. And when you're around people who are so smart, you feel like you're not smart. Like you feel, I was like towards the bottom, 20% of that class, in a class of 100 people where 50% go Ivy League. And I didn't go Ivy League. I went to Occidental College down in LA, really solid school. Obama went there, great time, played baseball. And when I was on my baseball teams, people were like, "Oh, you're the smart guy." I was like, I've never viewed myself as the smart guy. I just haven't. I think it's probably, there's like an element of an underdog mentality that I feel kind of fuels me a little bit more. The undersized pitcher, not
like,
smart as everyone
what
else.
kind of GPA did you have in high school?
In high school, I had like a 3.2 or something.
Yeah, so you weren't a dumb kid. You weren't not a bad student. You were.
No, I wasn't a bad student. I was not like a bad student. I certainly wasn't like trying to be a bad student, but I was still the guy who was like, what's the easiest way to get this done without like, work smarter, not hard. I was not working hard. I was trying to work smart around a bunch of people who were academics.
You were a better student than me. I mean, I was like, I hated school, right? I did whatever I had to do just to get through it. but I did not ever care about my grades, not even in college, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't start
wasn't that
caring
guy.
about school. Like, you know, I just graduated business school, and that was like a choice where, you know, I spent 6 years in sales, and I honestly, and this is going to sound very arrogant, I was just sick of being around dumbasses. I was sick of being managed by people who I was like, you aren't intelligent, and we continue to like promote people. Like, I just feel like there's a lot wrong in sales and kind of how we promote people. It's like based on age and just age, or like someone who's super successful as an IC but has absolutely no fucking leadership skills at all. Like no empathy, very selfish, narcissistic. Like that's who I want to hire as my IC, but certainly not who I want managing people. And like a lot of companies make that mistake. And so I was like, you know what? I'm, you know, admittedly, like I was not going to Press Club every year. I was not like number one on the leaderboard. I also didn't care enough to be those people. You have to be so hyper-focused on.
It has to be your life.
It has to be your life. And I didn't want to go home and be my number. I didn't want, like, you see so many reps like killing themselves because they attach their self-worth to their number. I was like, I want to do something higher level than this. Like, I want to help other people get better. Like, I would rather be a good coach than like the best player on the team. And so I eventually just became a chip on my shoulder. I was like, management doesn't see it. Like, you know, I can help a lot more in terms of like helping people grow and like building this business. And it was just like, you know, dragging their feet. So I was like, you know, fuck you guys. I'm going to go start studying for the GMAT. I started studying at nights, eventually got a tutor. I worked on it for 8 months, took it 5 times, and got into business
walk
school.
Me through that, right? So you're in sales, you're frustrated, you feel like you're around a bunch of morons. And I get it, by the way.
It's not everyone's a moron. It just felt like there were a lot of times where there were decisions that were just like mind-bogglingly stupid. Yeah. And then it's just like 6 months later, it manifests in the way that you said it would. It's like, is this not obvious to like people in these high-level positions?
It's just a lack of experience, right? And it happens all across SaaS. I'm a little more surprised to hear that it was happening at Oracle. I would think that they have their shit together, but you know, in the smaller startups I've worked in, it's the same story. Like you're putting people who a year ago they were in college getting drunk, and like now they're managing a team of 10 people, or they're becoming a director or vice president and making very big strategic decisions. Like it's actually, I'm glad you brought it up because it's a major problem, right? Industry wide, because in order to be a great sales leader, like you need to be a good salesperson. You don't need to be great, but that's the starting point, right? That's the first requirement that people look for. And it tends to often be, I think, just the only requirement that they look for.
That's what I think too.
And that's what leads to a lot of these problems, right? And I'll tell you why I think it happens, because it's actually really hard to find someone who has really good leadership chops, who also has the respect of the team, who also really understands that particular product, that particular company. They've closed deals, etc. It's not impossible, but it's also not very easy. Right. I do think that it could be done much better in most cases. You know, and I think the reason, like, to talk about my where I was a little bit different is I spent 4 years in retail management before I got into software sales, and I was at a massive company that put me through real leadership training. And so I think that's why I was able to grow into leadership quickly, because I stood out in that way that like I actually knew how to have real conversations with my team when things got difficult, or, you know, I actually knew how to terminate someone without breaking 17 laws in a 3-minute meeting, you know, and also how to weigh pros and cons of big decisions and stuff. So anyway, to your point, I think there's just not enough training for these people at all. Sales leaders get put into these roles. I don't know what it was like at Oracle, but in pretty much every startup, like, they don't get training, right? Like there's no budget for it. There's no plan for it. And so
it's also just hard to evaluate soft skills. Like it wasn't just at Oracle. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things wrong with Oracle. You know, people, we don't have to go into it, but like, you know, even at Glassdoor, where I was after that, it was just such a lack of focus on like who is leading right now in like the lower level. I felt like, you know, management was pretty disconnected from like what was actually happening among teams.
And you were in which office? Did they have multiple offices?
Glassdoor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was here in Sausalito headquarters.
Where they had another one at the time?
They had like some.
Or were you working with Jake Dunlap? Because I know he worked there at some point.
So I was after his time.
Okay, got it.
But they were also in Sausalito. But they were in a different office within Sausalito, and then they moved. And then while I was there, they opened UK and Chicago. And that was another classic example of scaling like so fast for no reason at all. As if reps weren't able to cover all of the demand. and then, you don't back it up with like tools or training or ways to like make everyone better. You're just like, well, let's put more heads in seats, and, we do the math, and the spreadsheet says we'll hit this,
That's
amount.
what they hired Jake for?
Well, Jake was in the golden age of Glassdoor, when there weren't so many reps, when like, every company's got like a golden age, right? Where if
things were actually really good.
Things were great. And like there was so much demand and not a bunch of people there. And you can like find me a single rep in the world that says, I've got too much interest. I can't manage it all. I need someone else to go close some of these. Find me one in the world.
I know.
There's none.
It doesn't happen. I changed the way I led my team at my last company. Normally, your managers they'll get their sales target right from finance or their CEO, and they'll add a 20% buffer and they'll divide it up, and there's everyone's quotas. I always did the exact opposite. I wanted to have a small elite team of only the best people. And I was very transparent with them that in order for us to hit the company target, everyone needs to hit 120% of their goal. But we're going to deliver the pipeline because we have the budget to do that. And so instead of me building in a 20% buffer for me and for the company, so the team hits 80% to goal, but really the company won, they hit 100. I did the opposite. I said, in order for the company to win, you need to hit 120% to goal, which means you're all going to be swimming in leads. You're going to be, you're going to be riding the gravy train, so to speak, which is great for them. It's a great position to put them in. But they know that they have to overperform. They know that the real company target, which we have up on a scoreboard, we know we need to hit it. It requires overperformance. And I think that's the right way to run a team, because then you have a team that's consistently crushing their goals and they're putting in the work. And to your point, like, you don't need to work weekends to get that extra 20% as long as the pipeline's there. Like, you'll find the time.
Right. And that was the thing. Like, Glassdoor had so many good people. And it was just like, you could tell. It's just like what you said. I mean, any company, there's a classic graph, like reps winning, companies winning, reps winning, companies winning. All of a sudden, like reps start losing, company continues to win and like grow. Best quarter ever. But like, 80% of reps missed. Like, that doesn't make sense, and
the culture takes a huge dive.
People start leaving, everyone starts hating themselves. You're like, what happened to us? Right. Yeah. And it's just such a classic Silicon Valley tale of, we take investment, we make these promises. And as long as the company's winning, it's fine. We can,
It's the broken VC model, man. There's so many things. You've probably heard me rant and post on this stuff a million times, but there's just so many things in that VC model that are so obviously broken, and everyone just ignores it, right? Like the point of you just keep hiring people doesn't mean your revenue grows at the same rate. Right? There's eventually dilution that happens. There's diminishing returns at a certain point, and companies just don't understand that. And you see it happen every single time. They start out with 5, 10 sales reps, then they go to 50, then they go to 100, and then at that point they're like opening up new offices. They're just going, and like now your reps are fighting over territories. They're not, their pipeline quality, it doesn't even compare to what it used to be. And then they wonder why, while they're even raising quotas often, why no one can even hit their target. It's like, dude, like if I threw 100 balls in a pool, right, and like there's 100 people there, and I say each of you go get a ball, like you can get a ball. But if I get 400 people and the same amount of balls are there, right, how many are going to lose, right? It's just basic. It's so basic that like I explain it that way because it's like VCs are smart people. How do they not understand this simple concept? And then they end up burning so much fucking cash. And so it sounds like you've seen this happen quite a lot, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. It's funny because maybe I'm jaded and I'm sarcastic and I'm dark like this, but I see companies like, whoa, we just raised our Series D, like, and all the reps are like posting about it on LinkedIn. I'm like, yikes, like, better start looking for a job, because once you guys start scaling in the next 6 months, you guys are all going to be wondering where your market, like where your pipeline went, and why all of a sudden you're sending 1,000 emails a week with targeted or generic software, why people aren't responding, why they're starting to get frustrated with you sending these like 17-step blasts, because you have no choice, because you got to hit these numbers, and all of a sudden the quality, like you said, just deteriorates. And
there's a honeymoon phase after the round of funding, right? Everyone's excited, you throw a cool party, but then the reality of all of the over-promising that was done to get people to give you that money as a CEO, that reality starts to set in, and decisions start to be made really quickly. And this is where things start to fall array, because they're making decisions that will satisfy the investors until the next board meeting.
Right.
Even though most of them, I think, are actually smart enough to know that those decisions are actually not the right decisions long term, right? This is oftentimes why a lot of great VPs of sales get fired, because they have to explain a bad quarter, which the explanation is actually, we probably hired too many reps, or quarantine fucking happened, or we just simply over forecasted like we always do. But instead, the CEO has to be able to tell a story. Oh yeah, we made a bad hire with the VP sales. We got this new woman coming in. She's going to be the best. And that's the story that carries them through to their next board meeting. And so that's how decisions start to get made, amongst the executive team and the board. And so you just kind of have this series of like bullshit decisions being made just to keep the board kind of like happy. And it's so weird that they're not smart enough to see through that and to call the bullshit. That's what I just don't get. I've sat in on board meetings and it's like, how do they not know that that's not the real answer? How do they not know? Like you look at, let's use an example, right? Like let's say you look at the pipeline growth and from the marketing team of a company, and the pipeline grew over 20% using all the same strategies that they used before. So it should be good pipeline, right? But the deals didn't close, right? And now we're sitting here saying it's the sales leader's fault. Like, is that really true? Like, can that really be true? Or is maybe something wrong with the product? Is maybe your competitor like getting better than you? Like VCs just accept these bullshit answers. And anyway, I'm rambling on here, but I'm giving you a little perspective of like what it looks like on the.
Yeah, I mean, I think truthfully, like a lot of boards do know. Like, I mean, the VP of sales job is like a hard job no matter how you slice it. It's like a head coach, right? You're eventually you will be fired. Like you will be. And that's just kind of the nature of the game. Like you're in a leadership role, like you're the general. And at some point, like the powers that be are like, this has to be our fall person, and it just is what it is. I think boards do know that, but boards, one of the easy things about being a board or a VC is you're disconnected from the people behind it. And that's like what makes it difficult. It's like, if you knew all those people in there personally, you're going to be like, shit, like this sucks. I know like we're about to axe 30 people, 30% of people that I know and care about versus like this, like all I'm looking at in my business, this business that's supposed to make me a bunch of money. And if we have to axe 30% of them, well, fuck, let's fucking do it. So there's like the lack of human touch there makes it very easy to, make those decisions, I think.
Yeah. And they know it's bullshit too. Because multiple times I've seen in my career and my friends have seen it too. You get fired. Right. And then, members from the board start reaching out to you. They want to hire you at another company that they're on the board for. And it's like, obviously I wasn't the problem, right? If now you're saying like, you want to hire me again. So
right. Which is good though. I mean, that's good.
It is a good thing.
Recognize it. Like,
it just shows how much of a joke it is.
Right. I mean, it's just, there's just a lot of hypocrisy in it. And it's like, it's similar to NFL coaches, right? Like they get fired, they're boys over at this other team. They're like, hell yeah, bring them in. Like, it just, it's kind of silly. It just sucks when it's the reps, like the younger folks out there that are like the stress falls on them.
It does, right? Because especially if they love their sales leader, and even if they don't, like just having constantly new leaders coming in is fucking awful. And it just stirs everything up. And like, companies start to get momentum and things go well and everything gets shaked around. But anyhow, I think enough on that. I want to talk about you hate marketing, right? Or
that's what I like to say.
And maybe this is where we'll get into the differences between Ross and Corp, but like, maybe we should do that first, but like, cause I want to understand this hate for marketing. And so maybe before we do that, can we distinguish like the character corporate bro? How much of that is Ross and how much of that comes from somewhere else? Yeah.
I mean, I think there's corporate bro is probably 30% me.
And what's the 30%? Like what are like some of the things that we see in these videos that's like just really you?
I mean, honestly, it's just like the type of humor, type of, it's shit that I would like to say, but don't say. It's fully knowing that like I'm a salesperson and I will always advocate for salespeople, even if I know, even if Ross knows it's not always right.
And I feel like we've started to see some more of that right now because you used to keep your identity a secret, right? And I don't know if we want to get into that, but I imagine it was just like you were working at Oracle and like they didn't want to be associated with corporate bro.
Exactly.
Is that the gist of it?
Yeah, I mean that's it. Like, I was always very intentional about corporate bro, and like I didn't want Glassdoor or Oracle to be like they feel like corporate bro does. Like I know my character can be inflammatory and douchey and say ridiculous shit.
Well,
even
and
if a lot of truth
in probably
and offensive,
ways,
but even if there's like truth veiled in there, I never wanted my brand the corporate bro brand to be associated or blended with Glassdoor or Oracle, like out of respect for them. Like I appreciated them letting me do what I did.
Did they make you sign stuff like legally?
Glassdoor did. So the story about Glassdoor is like sneaking isn't the right word, but I was filming in the office on weekends. I didn't ask permission. I was like, I work here. It's fine. Like I don't use any logos. I don't tell people it's Glassdoor. I'm not making fun of anybody at Glassdoor, though I know deep down people were like, is that about, like, I started to realize people were like internalizing stuff I would say. Like, is that me or is that about us? Is that, no, it wasn't. It's like the game that we play. Yeah. I got to walk around the park by HR, kind of like, so what's this like corporate bro thing that you're doing?
And was it, and we're going to back up in a second too, because I want to get to like how you started making content, but to close the loop on this story, was it big yet when they noticed it? Did you have a lot of followers? I
think if I remember correctly, I was somewhere around like 20,000.
So it was significant. Yeah.
It was enough that like, everybody in the office was like following it, would be talking about it. And they were like, oh, we didn't realize that like you have a creative process. This is like you're not just like some dickhead with a phone, like fuck my job, like, whoa,
Well, that's what fascinated me. Like when we spoke, I realized how strategic you were with it. I mean, the production quality gives it away. Like you can tell this is not just like some asshole with a phone, but when we first spoke, it was like, wow, like you really, there's a lot of thought that goes into this. And so,
yeah, and Glassdoor was cool. Super grateful for it, but eventually it got too big. People were bringing it up in job interviews. Like I hear corporate bro works here, blah, 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 stuff like that. And they're like, dude, we just can't anymore.
So you stopped, or is that when you left Glassdoor?
No, they kicked me out. Well, they didn't kick me out. I just got like a very aggressive email from legal, like, dude, we're revoking your filming license, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, shit. So that's when I kind of became a nomad. I think that happened probably 8 months before I ended up leaving.
Oh, so they fired you?
No. I left. I eventually left. I was like, I went to go start something.
What was their ask? Their ask was just that you had to stop filming?
Oh, just you no longer have permission to film here.
Period. I see. So you could keep filming, just not in the office.
Correct. I could keep doing corporate bro. I mean, the general counsel guy was super cool about it. He's like, dude, I don't care what the hell you do outside of work. Like, I will never fault you for doing that. We just can't have you doing it in the office. Like,
it's a liability. They don't want to be tied to it. Yeah.
Like, they get nothing out of it.
Yeah.
So it made sense. Yeah. It hurt, but it made sense.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's back up for a minute. We're going to definitely come back to your hate for marketing, but I want to back up. So you got into sales. You're at Oracle. Is this when you started? Like, walk me through. How did you think about making this content? Like, did you do theater in high school? Like, where the hell did this come from? And like, yeah, what were the initial
beat up
thoughts?
Theater nerds. No, I actually, I mean, I was always like the jock athlete guy. I was like, I'd never do theater. Like, it's
funny that I actually have that in my notes. I was writing notes about like, what kind of, or I'm looking at it right now. What kind of kid were you? Popular, jock? Did you do any acting in your youth? Because I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, I know he plays baseball. I know he works out, and he's a bit of a jock. But like, he's got acting chops. Like, where did that come from?
So like, I had to do, like, I went to small schools for the most part growing up. And we always had to do like a play, and I was always in the play. Never.
Everyone had to be in the play?
Everyone like had to be in it. It's like our classes were like 100 people. So it's just
this is like a private school?
Yeah. Well, it's like actually I was in public school for when I was living in Georgia. And we were doing like performances there, but I was never like a lead. I never want to sing. I never wanted to audition, but they'd give me like a really small but like speaking role where I probably have like 10 lines, and I like had a lot of fun with it, but no one ever pushed me towards like creative. Like I was just never pushed that way. I would make home videos, which in hindsight were actually pretty good for like a 12-year-old. It wasn't until I was in college I started acting for film students. I went to school in LA.
Wait, so you were making home videos? Like, how old were you when you started doing that?
I was like 12, like 10, 12, 14. Like, it was fun. Like, we had a camcorder. We'd rewind to shoot a scene.
Was it the one with the big video you had to put in it?
Yeah, like a tape thing that you had to put in. So we just rewind the tape to shoot another scene. There was no loading it in and editing it. It was just like I'd shoot it straight through and rewind.
What were you filming?
Dumb shit. We did like my family, like we'd had a family reunion, and I made like a parody of James Bond. Like
All
literally
right. So you had an interest in filmmaking since your youth.
But it was always an interest, but it was never
Yeah.
like I should go to film school. I should like push the creative stuff. It was always kind of like, you're going to be successful business person. Like you're going to be successful. And what that means is like, go into business, whatever the fuck that means. And like, that's just what I kind of always thought I should be doing. I was just focused on baseball.
Hobby. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to go to major leagues, you know, even if like, I knew that was an extreme long shot given, you know, the physical makeup. But yeah, I mean, like the acting started kind of coming. I certainly, to answer your question about who I was as a kid, I was the funny guy of the group. Like that's where I fit in. I would try to make up for my like lack of what perceived intelligence at school of being like the goofball, the guy who would do stuff that other people would say stuff or be like as quick as I could on a response. That's where I like brought value in the friend group. So
got it. All right. So now you're working in sales. You've done a little bit of filmmaking as a kid, so it's been a little bit of a hobby. I imagine, like, tell me, I'm going to try to walk through your mind here.
Yeah.
So you're this guy, you're working in this place, you're observing a lot of like douchey, bro-y, funny behaviors that you probably joke around a lot about, at least in your head, maybe out loud, and you somehow get inspired to create content around this. Is that, like, how did that happen?
Literally that. I mean, I'm at Oracle. I'm looking around. I'm like, holy shit. Like everybody here is just a corporate bro. I remember like exactly where I was standing. I was talking to my buddy who, you know, is in many of the videos. And then I just decided, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start like documenting this. I'm going to start making Vine videos, 6-second videos, low production quality, super easy to do. Just like the dumb shit that happens from like, you know, leaning back too far in a chair, like falling off, thinking you're going to fall off, that split second where you think you're going to die. Or like we had wired headsets, like we forget they're on. People would be like, let's go to lunch. You'd stand up and then you choke yourself out.
So it all started with Vine.
All started with Vine, 6-second videos. People in the office, my team started liking them. You know, I was sneaking around a little bit to get those done, but filming for 6 seconds isn't that much time. It wasn't like, you know, full time trying to make films at Oracle. Like I did very well at Oracle.
So did you get a lot of followers on Vine? Is that where it?
It got to like 10,000 or something, but like I could tell Vine was kind of sunsetting. The engagement was disappearing. Working professionals were not really on Vine, like the people that I was trying to target.
Right.
So I could tell Vine was, you know, they announced Vine was going to go away. I took the videos and put them on Instagram just because I didn't want to lose them. And around 2016, so like 3 years later, I got an article written by Total Frat Move and Bro Bible, both of which actually had audiences back then. Like they're shit, you know, it was shit, but it was a thing. It was kind of like Barstool before Barstool got big. So it blew up my Instagram from like 500 people to 10,000. So for the first time, that was when I was like, oh shit, people are resonating with this and think it's funny that don't know Ross. It was always like, I always assumed it's funny because it's Ross. Like I'm the funny guy in my group. They have context, but now it's funny to people who don't know me.
Yeah.
So that's when I got serious. Yeah.
They know the character. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's when you got serious. Is that when you started making longer videos and having characters and things?
Yeah. I mean, like I kind of scaled with the platform, you know, Instagram at one point was like only 15-second videos. So I was like, oh shit, 6 to 15. I'm like, now I can put 2 jokes in there instead of just like 1. And then it went from 15 seconds to 1 minute. And it was kind of like, you know, you evolve with the audience and the platform. People would watch the 15-second videos. Then you went to 1 minute. If I posted like a 45-second video, I'd get less engagement. It's like, damn, people aren't used to watching 45 seconds on Instagram. But now people watch a ton of video on Instagram. Now there's IGTV up to 60 minutes. Like, so you slowly start to adapt. And it started becoming the opportunity to like build characters and storylines and, you know, loosely speaking.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're really good at it. So did you have someone guiding you along the way, showing you how to do any of that, how to edit video, how to build characters, how to shoot scenes? Or did you just figure it out?
I mean, my dad's a writer, but my dad is like a nonfiction. He was a sports journalist or still is. And so I had like the writing gene as I taught myself how to edit, like, you know, YouTube, man, just watching YouTube videos, how to do this, how to do that. I was using iMovie. Actually, I was using an app on my phone to edit it first. Then I went to iMovie, kind of maxed out iMovie. It was like, I want to do this and this. I can't do it. Got Final Cut Pro. I'm still using Final Cut and Adobe Premiere. There's like stuff like After Effects. You know, now I have like a couple guys who, with the Unsubscribed show, which we can talk about some other time, or later, but I have editors doing that. My skits that you see on Instagram are edited by me. And that's just kind of like, the timing. Like if you have the comedic timing down and know how you want stuff to hit, there's so many hilarious things you can do with editing. Editing can make things so much funnier. So I just kind of self-taught.
I know nothing about it, right? As I told you when we started this, I'm like, I'm trying to shoot this podcast like unedited because it just seems easier. But I mean, you're right. When you like, I love watching YouTube content, and when it's well edited, it's a hell of a lot more entertaining, and you're more likely to watch the whole thing.
Right.
All right. So now you're at kind of this crossroads where you're in sales. You're doing pretty well at sales, not a top rep, but you're doing well. It sounds like you liked it, you enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I'm certainly not getting fired. Like I'm doing well. I'm hitting quota. Yeah. I have a miss here and there, but like.
But now you've got this other hobby that's taking off. It's getting traction, and there's potential to do something with it. So, where's your head at? Are you thinking like, I want to find a way to make content full time, and I want to make a living off of that, or are you thinking I want to stay in sales? And so, you said yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the goal was always like, how can I make this as big as possible? How can I I think at the end of the day, like we just want to do what we want to do. And like, that's what I wanted to do. Like when I was bored, I would start writing. When I was like, airplanes, like I'd start writing. Like I'm in my car, something pops in my head, I just write it out on like a notepad. And
so dream life for you is you're not selling anything, you're creating content.
Correct. I'm creating content. I would love to be in TV. Like that's what I would love to do. I would love to, like, truthfully, not be corporate bro one day. I like to be Ross.
But this all came about through the organic creation of Corporate Bro. Like you didn't have these dreams as a kid.
No. I mean, I guess if you said like, kid, do you want to be a movie star? I'd be like, yeah, that'd be tight. Like, but I was not like working towards it, so to speak.
Right.
It just became a possibility. And then I realized like, that's what my heart wanted to do. I wanted to do what I was interested in, which is like make people laugh and write funny things and keep people engaged. Like that's fun to me.
So why go put in the time to get your master's if you want to start creating? Was that the intention of it helping you grow the content creation career? Or?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I had applied to Second City. Second City is like the OG of comedy, like training. They have one in LA. The main one is in Chicago. I mean, you're talking like Tina Fey, Steve Carell, like all the OGs went through Second City training. It's not as like prestigious anymore. It's not as like big of a deal. They kind of like, it's, you don't need it anymore because there's social media. You can build your own stuff. You don't have to go through Second City to be like successful in comedy anymore. But that's where I was going to go until I got into Stanford. And it's really hard to turn down, an MBA from Stanford, which part of it for me was like, I need to legitimize Ross and Corporate Bro at the same time. Like too many people are not valuing it in the way I want it to be valued, where it's like, oh, this is this fun, like goofy, worthless, but fun, entertaining thing. And I was sick of being like the goofball, or like I said, not being taken seriously, intellectually speaking. So it was like, Second City would raise my ceiling a little bit, but Stanford would raise my floor a lot. And so if the comedy thing doesn't work out, I have a Stanford MBA. Like I'm getting a job. So it mitigated a lot of risk. Plus I knew like a lot of people who go get their MBAs, they go work at Hulu, they go work at, Netflix, they go work at HBO. And while they're not doing creative stuff, like I can at least get insight there. I can get introductions. The network is huge. So I have to be a little bit more deliberate. I have to be a little bit more creative in terms of getting to the people I want, because they're not really going to business school in the world that I'm trying to be in. But at the same time, like, best experience of my life. Like I was around the smartest people in the world from all over the world. I have friends now in most countries if I were to ever go, and it was just like being pushed. And biggest thing for me was like proving I could hang with these people, all of whom are like quants, just like managed hundreds of people, like done startups, already had exits, things like that. And my value was I was the only sales guy. I was the only sales guy in this school. So everyone, Stanford, my year, comes to me for sales advice. They come to me for like sales consulting. How do I lead a freaking qualification call? How do I do a cold call? Like
network 10x.
10x. It did. I mean, 100x. And at the same time, like, the creative thing is still what I want to push, but I am now kind of balancing this. Like I'm doing advisor work, I'm doing consulting work, but I'm also very much like full time on Corporate Bro, making content.
Got it. So if you mentioned if you had to go get a job, you'd have a Stanford MBA. So if you did have to go get a job, are you going back into sales, or are you trying to get a job in sort of the creation world, like you mentioned Hulu?
I mean, if I had to go back in the corporate world and Netflix was like, we need a writer for this show in the writer's room, like I would do that instantly. If we took creative off the table, I would go back and either do strategy or try to do corporate strategy, or I would go run a sales team, because I enjoy that. I'm a much better motivator and teacher than I am. Like, I'm not going to go back and be an enterprise rep somewhere. That's just not going to happen.
The days of Ross cold calling,
they're done
behind you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still kind of cold call people like in the creative world, but
yeah,
the days of trying to sell someone on a cold call,
yeah,
it's more just like, I just want to talk to you, please. Can I please just buy you something and give me 15 minutes? I want to learn. People are more receptive to that than like, me trying to sell them something.
So what's next, right? I know you launched this series called Unsubscribe. You had filmed a pilot episode of a show. How did that go? I loved it. Is there more work to come on that, or?
Yeah. I mean, the thing that was what was so hard. It was like, so I said, if I'm going to Stanford and not Second City, I'm going to do a pilot. I'm going to, in 2 years, like that is my goal, obviously graduate, but like my goal was to do this pilot. And
by the way, where can people watch that for those who are listening?
YouTube, just YouTube Corporate Bro pilot. You can find it on there. I wish I could do it over again. I self-financed it with the money I had made from Corporate Bro to that point, plus like a Kickstarter.
How much did it cost?
It cost almost 50 grand, which is considered ultra low budget, ultra low budget.
But it's a lot of money.
It's a shitload of money. It's just like, so that's needless to say why you haven't seen other episodes since. Now the reception was really solid. A lot of things I wish I could change. When you don't have that much money, you can't get all the people you want to get. You can't do all the things you want to do. And so you have to just like make it work. Like I had friends who were acting in it. I had legitimate porn stars who were acting in it, $100 a day, trying to get in legit acting. Legit, we don't have to go into that, but and then I had a couple guys who are really, really strong, really like legit actors.
Yeah. I forget the guy's name, but I started following, who's the comedian? I think
John O. Wilson. He's the guy who plays Travis, and there's guys, he's great, really solid dude, smart dude, brilliant at improv. Like that's what I wish I could fill the whole thing with, but I couldn't. Anyway, shelter in place happens. I had all these meetings set up in LA. Nothing like, it wasn't like pitching Netflix or anything, but I had all these meetings that were like going to lead to hopefully other meetings, potentially getting an agent, stuff like that. They all fell through, right? It was the first week of quarantine. I was like, fuck it. I want people to see this. I know people are at home. Life sucks right now.
Yeah. I remember we were texting then. You were, I think, like a little bit upset because you had these plans for a big sort of launch night. And
I did.
And it got all fucked up because of COVID.
Yeah. And it was still great. It still had like 3,000 people at once watch it on like YouTube awesome. Premiere, which is really cool. Again, a lot of things I wish I could change, some of the writing stuff. Now that being said, where's it going? I'm still writing, pilot aside, in the same vein, I'm writing an 8-episode season of what Corporate Bro, the sitcom, would look like.
So that's not dead. You're still working
I'm still working on it. And I'm going to find a way. Like, I'm going to make it. It may take me a couple of years because I got to make enough money to like figure out how I can actually get it shot and get the things I want. Or it may take, I'll either do it myself. I will find someone who can help me do it, or like a hybrid of the two, which will undoubtedly probably be that. It will get made. It's just a matter of when I can get the budget, like time, budget, and people, like get more than 4 people in a room, when quarantine's over, hopefully.
Let me ask you kind of the magical question here. How are you making money right now?
Yeah. So what I'm doing, I've been so deliberate about not doing ads on Corporate Bro, which is so funny because it's like I had a partnership with Dialpad where I did 4 videos for them, which were great. They were so cool about it. They were like, yo, feature our product in there somewhere, like product placement. Don't like make an ad for us. Just do your normal thing, full creative control, say whatever you want, and we'll pay you for that. It's
an integrated ad. Yeah, and I remember we talked about that. I told you I think you got way underpaid. I felt like that should have been worth so much more money.
That's the hard part. Is like, what am I worth? And I don't know what that is. So the way I make money now is I do Zoom, like we'll call them performances. It's kind of like stand up, or I'll go in, I'll either give like a funny motivational speech to a sales team or for an SKO, whatever it is. or I'll do like a roast. I'll do custom roasts for like sales leaders or like a list of quota hitters or like whoever you want. Like I'll do that. And I kind of tier the pricing based off of how many people is it going to be in front of, you know, is it how long, you know, anywhere between 5 minutes to 20 minutes and that type of thing. So that's one way. The other way is I do cameos, the cameo videos, 30-second, 1 minute, kind of like shout out my friends type thing.
Yeah, I bought one.
They're great. They're so great. They're awesome. Like talk about a brilliant company. Like that company is genius.
Yeah.
And then I do consulting stuff now. So I'm working with Bravado and I'm doing the Unsubscribe show. So they are paying me from a MBA standpoint of like, you know, kind of product strategy, little marketing strategy. How do you talk to salespeople? And then the creative side of producing this show alongside them.
Got it.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. And I love watching it too. And I think that like this short form episode type content is going to become more and more common. So it's pretty cool that you're like an early adopter to that. So obviously we know if the pilot, you know, that series takes off, we know how you make money with that. You try to sell it to Netflix or whatever. Right. What's the like the best case scenario for the Unsubscribe show? Is this just you want to get a lot of YouTube views and you monetize through that, or what's the goal?
The goal right now is just make stuff, like try new stuff out. Like, you know, another dream is like, I'd love to be Colbert. I'd love to be like Jimmy Kimmel. I would love to be a late night show host.
So you're trying to show different things that you can do, basically.
Exactly. And it's quarantine. Like you can't, like Hollywood shut down. Like they're not doing shit. Everyone's freaking out in Hollywood.
And you're making high production video content.
And we're finding a way.
Yeah.
So like, you know, hopefully that stands out at some point, but it's just, it's a great way to diversify like what I'm doing from the short form. I know it's like hard to get people to go spend even 10 minutes to go watch, you know, one of my episodes, which is like, God damn it. Like really, like everyone's like, make more content. And I make it and they don't go watch it. It's like, okay, great. How do I win? But I don't, you know, monetize YouTube really. I have like, I put
you don't
ads
at all.
So when I put a video out, I don't for like a week and then I turn it on later. Like after I want people to go there and just watch it, enjoy it, and like say, this is worth me watching.
So you have how many followers or subscribers on YouTube?
I don't know, 12, 13,000, something like that.
13K.
Yeah.
And you've got a ton of content on there. So when you turn on, like how much money can you make with?
Like none, honestly, none.
Because you need millions, right?
You need millions. Like you are not like, it's like the 1% of the 1% are making a killing on YouTube. The rest of the people are like making their video. You're not making a bunch of money off YouTube ads. You're making money off of brand placement inside those videos. You're making money on like the side deal partnerships.
So the only people who are making money off those ads are the Logan Pauls of the world, where there's just millions and millions of views and subscribers.
Yeah. I can't remember. It was something like, you know, like a million views was somewhere around like $800. Like,
it's not
like that is, you're not living off of that.
No.
You know? So like, that is not something I even count as like a revenue stream, even though like it might be like $50 a month or something. I don't know, maybe probably less. I haven't really looked at it.
It sounds like the immediate best income strategy for you is more of those dial pad type product placements, because it doesn't hurt your content, right? Because it's just in the background. It actually made it really funny when you used their product. Like I remember you pulling out like the voicemail transcript and like it was really funny. It worked well. It didn't like, it was, to me, it was obvious you were getting paid for it, but it's still, the content was awesome. And
that's the hard balance too.
Yeah. Do they have
like, you don't want to be a sellout.
Freedom?
Yeah. They got to give me creative freedom. I mean, you know, I've done a few where they're like pretty difficult. Like you can't say this, you can't do that. And like the stress of, I already want to put out a video a week just for people, just because I feel obligated. Like I want to make content for the world. But when people start, you know, companies start being like, yeah, redo this. We want to do this again. And I start like me and like my friends, like we're spending so much time on this one video that already isn't as funny as it should be because we're not being allowed. It's not allowed to be funny. Then we're wasting time on that because we're not making other content that people would actually like, you know? So that's why I rarely do those. Like,
are you accepting new sponsors today? If they gave you full creative freedom, is that something that you are pushing?
It depends on the product really. And it depends on kind of the setup. Like, you know, I would rather people sponsor the sitcom. Like, frankly, I'd rather people like put money, corporate sponsorships towards getting that made. Cause the world, then it's a win-win for everyone. Like it's hard. Like I don't really want to monetize fans, so to speak. it's hard. Like I already feel weird being like, go buy merch. I already feel like weird doing that, even though it's just like $20. You can afford a mug or shirt or whatever it is.
Yeah. I need to get a shirt. I want one.
Well, I'll send you one. I just I want it behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually wanted to order one so I could have worn it today, but I forgot.
It's all good. Again, like it's support, whatever support people are willing to give. Like, even if it's just going to like the fucking video, like double tap the thumb thing, like great. I can live with that. I'll figure it out eventually. I just don't want to be super intrusive.
No, I feel you. It's a balancing act, I think. But you shouldn't feel bad asking for money because you're creating something. There's a lot of value in what you're putting out there, and we all love it. We all enjoy it, and we take it for free, and we don't feel bad taking it. So, support the cause for those who are listening. Like,
please,
if you're consuming free content, eventually, if there's a way that you can support that person, please do it. Like, I started my Patreon group. It's not actually live at the moment of recording this, but by the time this podcast goes live, it will be live. And so, I hope that a lot of people who have consumed my free content will consider joining. And I don't feel bad asking because it's their choice and it's going to be well worth the small fee to pay. So Anyway, couple more questions for you. I got a fun question for you. So I forget, do you have a blue check mark on Instagram?
I don't.
It's because it's not a real person, right?
So they say, or I don't have enough like legitimate press articles, or people aren't impersonating me enough. So if you're out there, go impersonate me so that I can report your account and get it taken down so that they can look like people are trying to be me. I don't know, man. It's so arbitrary. It's very frustrating. I don't really
we got to get you that blue check mark. Are you a single guy, Ross?
I'm not.
Oh, you're not. Okay.
I'm not.
My next question was going to be, have you been taken through the whole corporate bro upcoming? Or was there once a single corporate bro? There was once,
yeah.
Are there, like, what's the groupies for corporate bro look like? Were people sliding into your DMs? Was the clout that strong?
For dudes, yeah. A lot of dudes want to hang out and drink a beer. A lot of dudes want to drink a beer. No, not really. And when it's there, it's super flattering. I typically play the character on the character is very much single. But and I play the character, but at the same time, like, not really. Like, I wish.
You haven't like gone out with anyone that you met through a corporate bro groupie DM slide? No,
not yet. Maybe if it all collapses on me, if my world collapses, then maybe. But you never. I don't know. I don't want to get murdered. I don't know. One day.
Cool. How would you rank your level of fame? Like, are you recognized in the streets of California? Do people ever stop you and they're like, "Yo, Corp"?
Yeah. It's happened a lot of places. It happens. I mean, obviously in San Francisco a lot, but I've had it I had it in South America. I had it in freaking Brazil and Argentina and a lot of places here in New York, Arizona, Chicago. Like, it's a thing now. There's a lot of salespeople out there, and it's cool. It's weird. It's still flattering, but at the same, thank God for mask culture now, so I can go back into the marina in San Francisco and it's fine, and nobody knows it's me.
Is it to the point that it's annoying that you're like, it's too much? Are you at like Justin Bieber level now where you're like yelling at paparazzi? Leave me alone?
No, but it is that awkward point where it's like, it'd be one thing if I was Justin Bieber and I was like a, multi-millionaire, and it's like, that's part of the territory, but I'm not. Like, I'm just a dude.
Yes, you're not getting the perks, right? Yeah.
I don't have the perks of but you sit there and you're like, someone says something to you, and you also know that like, there's a bunch of people who don't say something to you that are like creeping from like at the corner of their eyes, like, just like, what's he doing over there? And then they're mustering up the courage. And I'm like, what was I doing for the last 15 minutes? Was I looking like a dumbass? Like, like, what was I doing while they were all trying to stare and be like, is this him? Like, I see people like showing phones to each other, and I'm like, God damn it, they know. They know. Funny. Okay. So I'll like, when I go out, I'll like sit and face away from the door, or I'll face like different directions so that I'm least visible.
Got it. So I've got two more questions to kind of close the loop on on everything. How big do you think that this can grow? Like, how big is this sales community? Are other people like in the audience? Are you getting people from other departments of startups that find it funny? I think you're at like 175 or thousand followers. Like, does this become something that's millions of followers? What are your thoughts on the reach it could have?
It has the capacity to, absolutely. I mean, it's not just salespeople. You get marketing people. If you work in tech, like you should get it because you know your sales team, you know your marketing team, like, you know, sales, like ops, and like anybody who interfaces with sales, like should get what I'm doing here. You know, admittedly, like a lot of people think it is niche, and it is in a lot of ways, but I also think the world knows what salespeople are. Like that's why I think a TV show would make so much sense. Is like, salespeople are ridiculous, and why would the rest of the world not be interested in these like ridiculous people? So I'm starting to make broader content. Like you saw the Peloton video, like I'm starting to try and broaden a little bit to try and bring more people in just to see the sketches. Cause I think there's a lot of immediate turnoff where it's like, oh, this is just like sales humor. It's like, it's humor with a sales slant is what I like to think about it as. So, you know, I think we're kind of just scratching the surface. One of the issues is like, I don't have a lot of visibility. I don't have like, you know, people shouting about it. I haven't had like the big viral video yet. I haven't had like something go millions and millions of views.
Yeah.
For like a variety of reasons, but I think we're kind of just getting away. I could see this in like, you know, a couple million, like if we're talking about follower count, just in the world. I'm just
curious
of like
how much is out there. Cause I'll be honest, like I was surprised that it like isn't over millions by now. Like, do you track how fast the followers are growing? Do you track if you lose followers, gain followers, things like that?
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, one of the things that I learned was being a private account actually made me grow a lot faster so it's one of those things where I have like really high engagement, like by any standard, by any metric.
The people who love it are all in. Yeah.
They're all in, but the barrier to entry is a little bit higher. I think with my humor, I think you need to watch a few videos. I think once you're bought in and you're in on the joke, like you love it and it's great, but it's not like TikTok. It's not like stupid. Sorry, people who love TikTok. It's not just like stupid, like, what do you call it? Like it's in your face, tactless. Like I want mine to be smarter. I don't want just like, oh, someone tripping down the stairs. Like, oh, you know, someone like dancing, you know, like an idiot. Like the virality of those things is so much higher because you don't have to be in on the joke. It just is. It's slapstick. It's like, it's cheap.
Do you think that that it's hard to acquire a female audience because of what it's called, corporate bro? Like before they know what it is, do they just hear that? Are they put off by it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
because of the bro culture, and you know, it's all frowned on. Yeah.
Well, I think that's also hurt me from like a branding, like, you know, corporate like sponsorship standpoint. I think a lot of people, especially now and how polarized our country is on social issues and stuff like that. If you had told me 8 years ago, bro would be synonymous with like rape culture and like misogyny, I know. Like I would have been like, what? Everyone says bro. Like I know like a lot of my, you know, female friends are like bro, they say bro. And it's like on the surface, people see like corporate bro and it's like, oh God, like please. Like they don't get that it's satire. They don't get like the whole point is like, we're trying to like make fun of this and call it out. So I've thought about changing the name a bunch of times. I'm not quite there yet. And what I would do. That's why I'm slowly crossing over Ross and corporate bro. I still love the nickname Corp. A lot of people call me Corp. I prefer it.
I've noticed. I was going to comment on that earlier. Like when I mentioned that you used to keep your identity a secret. Now you're not, right? You've pulled down the curtain. Your public LinkedIn is now very clear who you are. I remember when I first started watching your videos, I tried to figure out who you were, and I eventually found it, but it wasn't easy. It was pretty well hidden. But I think it's a smart move now because you're and now. You know, seeing the types of things that you post, I think this is why I was going to mention it before. I think it does show people that you are not just a goof, right? And that you actually are a smart guy because you're posting real content, not just like satire comedy. Now you're writing real posts on LinkedIn.
Right. And I mean, that was like kind of that's all been kind of part of the strategy is like, I changed the name. I didn't tell anyone. I was like, slowly people will start to see it. They'll start to like figure it out. They'll start to, you know, start cross-referencing. And the one thing I was battling was like, if I push Ross and corporate bro together, does Ross get stupider and goofier, or does corporate bro get smarter and more like elevated in terms of like sales knowledge, like general intelligence and knowledge?
I think it's the latter, particularly like after having you on this show and people are gonna hear this and I think this will be probably, is this the first time like the public is gonna like really meet Ross?
Yeah, I mean, like in any meaningful way, probably.
In a strategic way, I mean.
I think so. This is the first time I've been like introduced me with my name.
Yeah.
You know, I've had people say Ross, like, you know, some people call him Ross, but we don't like discuss kind of the overlap between the two. It's always just like strictly talk about creative process and like the character and humor and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, like this is part of the strategic plan of like blending the two for sure.
Smart stuff, man. All right. Why do you hate marketing? Or do you really hate marketing? Is part of that just the shtick? Like, does Ross actually have bad relationships with all of his marketing teams that he's worked with?
No, I don't hate marketing. You know,
Is it just really fucking funny? Because it is.
It is. Yeah, it is. And marketing is a stereotype in so many ways. And it's just like sales is. Like,
honestly, like you made the stereotype. Like, it's so good. Like, those are your best videos, in my opinion. If anyone has not, if whoever's listening, if you have not watched this stuff, like you have to watch it. Even if you're in marketing, if you can't take a joke, like, sorry, it's too fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, like, what I know I'm good at is like finding the small human truths in a lot of the things that we do. And like the only reason it works is because it's true. Like the things I say are pretty true. And yes, I embellish them and blow them up in like a bigger way to make it like
I mean, what's the thing
outrageous.
They do where they're like walking like this?
Yeah, the little marketing jaunts. Like they're like, there is a look. Marketing. Yeah, the patty cake. Like a little patty cake. Like, I mean, I literally walked into a marketing floor and a bunch of people were foam rolling. Like it was like 2 PM. Like literally they were foam rolling. They were like, it was like a stretching session. Like, come on.
I've seen them with like neck massagers on their desk. I see them like, you know, like cuddled up on the couch with their laptop, clearly fucking doing nothing for.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I'm an angry, jaded sales guy. And like, let's be clear, like there is nothing better than like a good marketing team. Lead gen, like good lead gen, like as a salesperson.
It is
like,
super critical. Yeah.
Truly. But
so I'm glad to hear you say that. That's why I asked, by the way, because the accountability is what you
That's my issue. We get dominated. We're on the front lines taking grenades. And if like they miss like pipeline targets, like they don't give a shit. They're not being comped like maybe the VP of marketing is, but like your marketing associates, the people writing the blog posts and all that stuff, like they're not totally tied to revenue. Most of the time. Some are.
I was actually asked yesterday by someone if I'll take part in a debate on this exact topic of should marketing be tied directly to revenue. And my answer is unequivocally yes. There's no question about it.
Yeah. If they're going to be part of like in a room CROs, if they fall under a CRO, they should.
I don't care where they fall under. They should be tied to revenue. I've literally been in Monday morning stand-up rallies where we missed our quarterly target and marketing's at 150% of their bullshit metric that, you know, they're all celebrating like it's the best quarter ever. And like the rest of the company is hurting. Investors are hurting. Like we failed, you know? And in that particular scenario, we did make some changes. I was advocating for everything just gets switched over to a revenue number, but instead of them being comped on MQLs, marketing qualified leads, we at least got it switched to sales qualified leads. So they couldn't just generate shit anymore.
Right. That's one of the issues I always ran into. It's like, give us credit for this one. It's like they downloaded an ebook 2 years ago. Someone in that company, and I closed somebody different today. Like this has nothing to do with MQL or like marketing having done that.
MQL is just junk. It's junk. Unless a salesperson speaks to someone and says there's teeth on this and they qualify it, then no one should be paid for anything, I believe.
Right.
All right. We're running up on time here, but where can people follow you? What should they follow? Should they subscribe to the show? What do you want to plug? Take it away.
I mean, I don't know. You know, you'll find my content. All the sketches will be on Instagram at corporate.bro, to be clear. I don't think there's any other ones out there, so you shouldn't have trouble figuring that out. LinkedIn. I love trolling LinkedIn. You know, there's so much bullshit on LinkedIn. It's really fun to call it out. Same name there, or you can find my real name, Ross Pomerantz, on LinkedIn. And then YouTube, like go watch the Unsubscribe show. It's different. It's the first time we've really specifically tried to blend a little bit of teaching and value with just like general outrageous comedy. So we're only doing 6 episodes for now. We just finished wrapping episode 5. Episode 4 just came out, but we just finished shooting episode 5. Episode 6 will be, we're in the process of writing that now. So find it anywhere, really. Google it.
Awesome, man. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on. I hope the audience enjoyed it.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
Likewise. Take care, man. Have a good rest of the day.
You too.